Welcome in, everyone, to our season preview for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm Matt Weiner. It was an outsider who punctuated the Thunder's third straight first-round playoff exit and may have moved the needle toward a franchise makeover. Step one, trading Paul George to L.A. for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and a bounty of draft picks. Step two, completely altering the franchise's identity with a point guard swap of Russell Westbrook for Chris Paul and even more picks. Training camp now means a lot of introductions.
We had 2019, 2020 Media Day, giving you guys a fresh look at it, what we got for the season.
Favorite kicks? I try hooping in the 10s this month, and I like them. They're comfortable, but of all time, I'll probably say the Kobe 8s.
Guys. Just let me go really quick. Just let me go really quick.
Talk about shifting gears. The deals to transition into the post-Russell Westbrook, Paul George era brought back 3 potential starters for this year, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a long-term prospect to replace Russ, and 7, count them 7, new first-round draft picks over a 6-year period. They also have the chance to swap 4 times during that time. Here we go. 10 points on Oklahoma City with 3D Dennis Scott, Stan Van Gundy right over there. What a fascinating turn of events. In a year's time, a franchise that fancied itself a contender with a pair of superstars on the roster realized it was not and started the clock on a total rebuild. For the first time since the franchise relocated from Seattle, the Thunder will not have Westbrook or Kevin Durant on the roster. Will the Thunder Reno project be more exciting or painful in the short term?
Painful in the short term, because I would guess that they didn't make these moves to try to contend with what they have. So I think they're already looking for deals for Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari, which means there's going to be more young players and not really trying to contend, and that's going to be different for this franchise.
Man, I think it'll be painful, to your point, staying in the front office, but I think it may be exciting to see what some of this young talent can do as they fight for the future. Is Chris Paul going to be there? Maybe not. Is Dennis Schroeder going to be there? I'm not sure either. So with that being said, staying with all this young talent, I think you're going to throw them out there. Billy D being a great teacher, trying to figure out which young talent he can say, this is what we're going with, and we're going with this to the future.
Sam Presti has been an aggressive general manager over the years. He's made a ton of deals. What is riding on his, I don't know, maybe not his reputation, but his legacy with the Oklahoma City Thunder in this rebuild?
Well, unfortunately, his legacy probably got hurt by some of the injuries and the fact that they weren't able to do in the playoffs what they had hoped that they were going to do back in the glory days when it was Harden, Durant, and Westbrook. So, but look, right now he's not focused on a legacy. He's just focused on trying to get this franchise, back into contention as quickly as he can. But it's going to take some time.
What kind of a timeline are we talking here?
It's going to be a few years, Matt, because you're trying to figure out, like I said earlier, which young talent you're going to keep, because some of the older talent, I would think, will probably be moved on. With that being said, how can you stay competitive where your fans are willing to come support you every night until you figure out what the future is really about?
It's an interesting element in Oklahoma City where they've basically never not had an exciting team for one reason or another. When the franchise moved, Kevin Durant was already there. They weren't winning yet, but he was already there. And they've always had Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, some combination, and some really good teams. This market has never really experienced bad basketball, which could be on the horizon.
And I think that's what Sam Presti has to figure out now. When you're drafting, you got all those draft picks to use. How do you use those to bring in more pieces? Do you keep Steven Adams, he's young, and a nice piece to keep around for the big picture? At the end of the day, how do you understand that we had a great culture and we were packed every night? We don't have that superstar face to sell every night now.
I think those fans are going to turn out, man. That's a great fan base in Oklahoma City. They remind me of Sacramento. This is a loyal fan base. They don't have a lot else in terms of pro sports.
Yeah.
I think they're going to back them through this rebuild. As long as that team goes out and plays hard every night, I think this fan base will stay behind them.
And by the way, when we say bad basketball, we're assuming a total breakdown, complete, Chris Paul's not there, Danilo Gallinari's not there.
That's great.
'Cause otherwise, this could be a pretty good team.
No, hey, if they have both those guys and they're healthy. Now, Chris Paul and Gallinari have both had trouble staying healthy. But
Sure.
if they're healthy with Steven Adams, with Schroeder, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Roberson's back, no, they would have a chance to be pretty competitive. I just don't think they want to go that route.
Right.
I think they're going to try to move on and rebuild.
And we're talking about the West, too, now. Now we're talking about this team with the West. That's what makes this a little tougher to say. Come on now, even if they are healthy, we're still talking about they're not fighting for those 1-7 spots, I don't think, either.
No.
Yeah, wait till we ask you how many wins they're going to have.
There you
not
go.
knowing who's on the roster
There
at
you
the end of the show. Billy Donovan is entering his 5th season on the job. He also happens to be in the final year of his contract, for what that's worth. Does he make sense to oversee the next phase?
Absolutely. Look, first of all, people don't realize there are 2 guys coaching in this league right now who have coached as long as Billy and have a better record. Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr. That's it. This guy's won over 60% of his games, 2 national championships in college, where he developed guys who weren't high-level recruits. Udonis Haslem, a great NBA career. Matt Bonner, Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer. Look, this guy is great at developing players. He's the perfect guy to take them through this rebuild.
Perfect demeanor, perfect teacher, and I think guys understand that what he's shown since he's coming in the NBA, and we question how do the college coaches handle our game. Well, he's done a heck of a job of it.
Well, Presti made the decision with his ownership to end the Westbrook era, picked up tons of assets, as we mentioned, but they also wound up with Chris Paul, who can obviously still play, is going to the Hall of Fame someday. But at 34, as in history of injuries, as you guys alluded to, and has around 3 years or around $124 million left on his 3-year deal. Whether he's there long-term or not, CP says his job remains the same.
It doesn't change, man. I tell you, I am who I am. I'm excited about our team. We gonna go out to win every single night. I always say, unless they start playing where you can put 7 other guys on the court, 8 guys on the court, not 5, then we're in trouble. But I'm excited about what we have.
Chris, Eric Horn, the Oklahoman. How do you feel about your tenure in Houston? Y'all obviously had a lot of success, but then, on the way out, reports of you and James and how you guys kind of, clashed on court. How do you feel about how the way things ended in Houston?
It's tough. I enjoyed my 2 years there. It was amazing. Had some unbelievable opportunities, made some great relationships, but it's business. Things happen. I wish them nothing but the best, and like I said, people always try to tell your story or try to tell your truth, but I have to be who I am, and continue to do that, and I think everything else will take care of itself.
Well, CP seems to be ignoring the fact that James Harden burned down his kitchen, right?
That's right, yes.
Saw that in commercials. We all remember that. We saw what happened there.
Yes, we do.
Remember, he's coming back to Oklahoma City, began his career there when the Hornets were displaced by Hurricane Katrina and spent a couple of seasons in Oklahoma City, so there is some familiarity there. What is the best approach for the team in CP3 moving forward, not knowing what the future holds for his stay with this team?
Yeah, man, you have to think he's got to be talking to Sam Presti. I don't know if it's a buyout or another team, because Chris Paul, we respect your professionalism. You're going to say all the right thing. But at this point in your career, you want to be in a situation of winning. We understand that. So you're saying all the right things. You're going to go to practice and kind of teach the young guys. But deep down inside, I don't know if he's going to be bought all the way in staying postseason.
And by the way, speaking of bought, in terms of a buyout,
yes, that's a lot of money.
Big buyout.
No, they're not going to buy him out.
That's not happening.
That's not happening. But look, this is as wide open an NBA season as we've seen in a long time in terms of people being able to win it. And so even with his salary, I think a contender will be willing to make a move for Chris Paul and give up some significant assets to have a chance to provide the missing piece to what can be a team to win it. So I think they're going to move on from him and get the best deal they can.
And in the meantime, we're in training camp now and preseason, presumably into the regular season, and he's part of a guard rotation with his successor, you would think, in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Dennis Schroeder. We'll talk about those guys a little later on. How does this play out in the short term in terms of minutes and in terms of the Thunder's priorities?
Well, I think they're just going to, right now, Billy Donovan will just play who he has, and I think they'll go forward with Chris Paul playing and showing people he's still playing well, and then they'll move on.
My question, guys, is this. If Chris Paul's not in the rotation or playing basketball, how does he stay in shape?
Right.
So that contending team says, you know what? He's in great shape. We're in the middle of the season. Let's take that risk. Otherwise, if he's not playing, then I might be a little cautious of going after him if he's not playing basketball.
Yeah, kind of competing
it's tough.
priorities
Yes.
for the Thunder.
Exactly.
They want to be able to show that he can play and he's healthy. At the same time, they want to develop guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's who we'll talk about when we come back. Part of the Chris Paul conundrum, the need to let SGA learn to be the Thunder's lead guard moving forward. We'll get into his... Playing for a playoff team in Los Angeles, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not get the same opportunities to handle the ball as some of the other highly touted rookies, including the Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Colin Sexton in Cleveland. But he was pretty good. He's a well-traveled 21-year-old from Canada to Chattanooga in high school, Lexington, Kentucky for a year of college, and of course LA for a season as a Clipper before heading to OKC by trade. Here's his introduction to his new home in the Heartland.
What's up, Thunder fans? It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, new Thunder guard. Looking forward to get to know you guys this year. I'm obviously from Canada. Grew up in Toronto, Canada. And then I went to prep school for my last 2 years of high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then went to college at the University of Kentucky, so I've kind of been all over the country. We have a really close family. In terms of me and my brother being close with my parents. Mom, former Olympian, not too much of a basketball person, but in terms of like work ethic and things like that, she's good. She calls me every day. Yeah, she can't get enough of me. My dad was more hands-on when we were younger. My dad always said like habits are built, you know what I mean? It's hard to break out of a habit when you're 18 years playing into basketball, so a lot of my foundation is who I am today. In my 9th grade year at St. Thomas More, didn't make JV actually. And I remember texting my mom after seeing I got cut and saying that I was going to make them regret cutting me. And I guess I kind of did.
Poised for that young man. He's got amazing potential. He's such a talented two-way player for such a young player.
I guess I'm a learner. I just soak things up. I just try to learn and implement into my game. And I guess you could say that's what I do. Every day I look at it as a chance to get better, and I try to, and then I'm better for the next day. A big thing for me this summer has been nutrition, trying to eat better. And I saw how nutrition helped last year. I'm going through the full season. Once I started eating better and stretching more often and things like that, I saw my performance get better and I felt better. So yeah, just staying on that throughout the summer and then throughout the season. I just try to play at my own pace and not let nobody speed me up, and then knowing how to ramp it up, being comfortable in my own skin. So I just try to stick to myself and be who I am. Individually, it's just don't let my man score. One thing I learned this year is how much communication helps. That was a big thing. Defensively, that helped me communicating. And even when you're talking, you talk to other guys, but it helps yourself as well, knowing where everybody is. And then hearing guys behind you talk. And it's contagious. It helps a lot defensively. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. It's another amazing opportunity that I'm blessed to have, and I know a lot of people wish to have. First and foremost, I knew the fans were crazy. Every time we played here, I felt like it was packed, sold out. It was a crazy and a fun environment to play in. It'll be fun to be on the good end of the environment. As far as the organization goes, I knew it was a really good organization. They've done it at a really high level before, and nothing is more important than I guess history and showing it. But yeah, I'm just going to continue to be myself, continue to get better every day, work hard, and I should be good. Thanks for riding with me today, Thunder fans. Can't wait to see you in the arena soon.
Might have the run of the place if he pans out the way they hope. It was no small thing for the Clippers to give him up. He started 73 games as a rookie with the Clippers in the regular season, all 6 of their playoff games as well. The Warriors, or against the Warriors, OKC obviously wanted this guy as part of this deal. What kind of potential are we talking?
Fantastic. I mean, this guy can play both ends of the court. I mean, he can handle the ball and make plays. He can score the ball. He's long. He can defend. He can play either guard spot. I think his long-term potential is fantastic. They've got a guy that they can build around.
Yeah, Matt, we talk about these young guys and motor. Just watching the highlight, this young man has a motor, and being on a playoff team last year really gave him a lot of confidence. We talked about the other three, rightfully so. But the fact that you're being around a playoff team, playoff atmosphere, and you know that another team traded for you exactly, it gives you a lot of confidence.
It's a lot of change for a young guy who, as I mentioned, has been through a lot of change already. What are the priorities in terms of making him comfortable and keeping him moving in the right direction?
Well, I think Billy Donovan, that we talked about, is such a great teacher. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing, is teaching him the game, keeping him in his comfort zone, and let him stay in attack mode because he likes to get to the rim.
SGA with the potential to be a star in OKC. We'll explore the Thunder rotation on the other side, including what the move to OKC means for Danilo Gallinari after a career year with the Clippers. Will even be in Oklahoma City by the end of the season. We'll talk about it.
Six-time All-Star Paul George is joining the Clippers.
It was stunning that the Clippers were the team that pulled us together.
News that dominated the day: Russell Westbrook is reunited with James Harden with the Houston Rockets.
This is just the latest seismic shift in the West. Don't forget, in addition to the newcomers, Dennis Schroeder is still part of that interesting guard rotation. Andre Robertson, remember him?
Yes.
Great defender.
That's right.
Been forever since he played. He is in camp, fully participating after missing a season and a half from a ruptured tendon in his left knee. Horrible injury. The power forward spot has all newcomers, including rookie Darius Bazley and Danilo Gallinari, who had a great season last year with the LA Clippers and is in the final season of his contract as well. Those are two things that would be appealing to a lot of contending teams out there. What are the chances that Gallo is in an OKC uniform by season's end?
I'd be shocked. You know, he's on an expiring contract. He's playing great. I mean, you know, he had a great season last year, shot over 50% from the floor, 40% from three, and gets to the free throw line attacking. His whole thing has been health. He's averaged 50 games a year over his career is all, and the 68 he played last year were the most in 7 years. So if he can stay healthy, though, this guy can help a contender get over the top.
Honestly, it tells you all you need to know about his career in terms of health. That 68 games was considered a full season for Danilo Gallinari.
And it's crazy, Matt, that something that simple can really hinder a guy's career. But what we see now, when healthy, he can really help a team. Getting to the free throw line last year really showed me when his legs are right stand, he can really bring value to the offense and the floor. And last year on the defensive end, he got better with his rebounding. So now stay healthy, and I think a contending team will come after him.
He knows as well as anybody that he is playing for other teams around the league as much as the Oklahoma City Thunder this season. Guess what? Steven Adams is now the longest tenured member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he's, what, 26, I think?
He'll be 26 this year.
What does this season look like for him, and is he a part of the long-term development of this franchise?
I would think so, because he's still so young, because what he does best, rebounding, setting screens, doesn't ask for plays to be called for him, a great teammate, great locker room guy. So I can see Sam Presti holding on to him. Unless someone comes along and offers something that you can't refuse, then maybe he gets moved.
I totally agree with Dennis on that. I mean, he's a foundational piece. I mean, he's a defensive stalwart. He's going to get on the boards. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, and he's about all the right things. He's going to play hard every night, and he's all about winning games. Why would you not want him around your other young players as you rebuild?
Terrence Ferguson became a regular in the rotation, often a starter for Oklahoma City last year, and was able to keep himself on the floor in part with his ability to knock down three-point shots, which he hadn't been able to do previously. What does he look like short-term for this season, long-term for this team?
Well, look, he defends and he shoots. He's a 3-and-D guy.
Right.
Now, the problem is, if they don't have Chris Paul and Gallinari finishing the year, the question is, does he do enough?
Yeah.
Because if you look, he doesn't rebound. He's not going to pick up assists. You know, they're going to have to put talent around him. He's a good fifth starter. He's a good guy off the bench, but not much more than that, at least at this point in his career.
Dennis Schroeder, whether Chris Paul is there or not, you've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How does he fit in?
I'm not sure, man. Because when we was here with Atlanta, guys fell in with little goldies. I like to call him with a little gold patch in his hair.
Yeah.
But Goldie showed flashes, And then certain times I'm like, it's too much erratic play, too many turnovers. I think I want the young fella Gildress there in the starting line. So I'm not surprised that he might be moved, Stan.
Is he a starter on a winning team?
I would say no. I think he's a backup on a winning team. I think he's a backup. He can come in, change the pace of the game. He can get to the rack. One thing he did show that last year. He still can get to the basket, but as a starter, I like him coming off the bench more.
Hey, I would agree, but if you know, those kind of questions are always tough, Matt, because who's around him?
Right.
Who's in the starting lineup with him?
Right.
You know, if he's the guy you're relying on, no. But if you put enough talent around him, yes.
Well, I am here to ask the tough questions, Stan.
There you go, and they are tough. That is a tough one.
More on the way. Chris Paul is back in Oklahoma City, where he spent his first 2 years as a Hornet. We're back in a moment with how many wins his new OKC team can expect. Thunder welcomed back Chris Paul to the city, where he began his NBA career. The question will be, will he stay there? Will he be there by the end of the season? Which makes this part of your job very, very difficult. This is the part of the show where we present to you a number and say, will the team win more than that number or fewer games than that number? The problem for the two of you is we don't really know who's going to be on this roster or if they do make deals, when they might make those deals.
Right.
Nonetheless, that's your job, not mine. They won 49 last year. We're projecting they're going to win a lot lower number. 31.5 is where the bar is.
No, Matt. I don't think Chris Paul will be there all season long. I don't think they get nowhere near 31 wins.
So you say they're going to make these deals earlier in the season, you think, and it's probably going to lead to losing?
Yes. I don't see Chris Paul being there until February. I think he's gone earlier.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. I mean, because if their schedule's favorable, this team could play 500 basketball for a while. So they may be able to get to the 31.9. And when they do make the trade, you don't have any idea who they're bringing back. I know this. I'm not walking in and placing a bet on this one way or another.
As constructed, how many games could this team win?
I'd take the over.
Okay, there you go. That's fair. But don't do that. Because we don't know. No one really does. Kind of the beauty of the season.
That's right.
For Stan,
that's why we're here.
I'm Matt. Hope that helped.